Hello, learner. Welcome to Mr. Quickest Teaches. I'm Mr. Quickest. In this lesson, I'll be analyzing Boey Cheng's poem, Report to Wordsworth. Now, this poem is part of the 15 poems in your anthology that you're studying for the GCSE. That's if you're writing in the UK, or the IGCSE, if you're writing it internationally. It is part of a course where I've analyzed all 15 poems. In fact, in this analysis, I'll look at how to, just sort of introduce you on how to write essays, quality grade 9 or A-star essays. So I'll do that in this analysis. Now, this course, this analysis, which is part of a greater analysis of the other 14 poems, you can get access to it for just £5 subscription a month on www.mrquickestteaches.com. I'll leave the link in the description. Additionally, you can also buy the entirety of the course for only £45 a year. That saves you £15. That's 3 months in subscription. Now, additionally, I also provide tuition as well. So if you need help, for example, with the other components, the drama, the unseen, the prose, and other poems as well, you can reach out to me directly, either in the comments section of any of the social media handles where you find this, or you can also do me an email at mrq@mrquickestteaches.com or mrquickestteaches@gmail.com. Any of those options, you can reach me directly, and then I'll see how I can help you. Now, the thing about the tuition is that the first lesson is free. So that essentially is a trial lesson, with no obligations. So you can just sign up, or send me an email, and then I'll reach out to you. I'll respond, and then we'll see how we can, coordinate something where you join the lessons. We have group lessons. I also have one-on-one lessons as well. Any of them that fits what you want to do. Let's begin the analysis. Now, let's begin by speaking about the poet Boey Cheng. He was born in 1965. He's a Singaporean Australian poet. He's very accomplished. He's a very accomplished writer. He's won a litany of awards, including the National University of Singapore Poetry or Creative Prose Competition, the National Arts Council Young Artist Award. He received his secondary education at Victoria School and graduated with Bachelor of Arts and Masters of Arts degrees in English Literature from the National University of Singapore. That's a brief summary of Cheng. I enjoy his poems. He, for example, wrote another poem, The Planets, which is also another poem that I really enjoy. Now, I want to start with a sample question you can be given for the GCSE or IGCSE. Now, this is the poem Report to Wordsworth. And then the question is, explore the ways in which Cheng makes Report to Wordsworth such a disturbing poem. In fact, this question, I saw it as part of the specimen questions for those who are going to start writing their exams in 2028. So it tells you that, this is, a future poem question that, you may meet. Now, this is how I've broken down the points, how you can present your points. What you can write from line 1, line 2 to 4, line 5 to 7, 7 to 8, 9 to 10, 11 to 12, 13 to 14, and then the structure. I always tell students that you have to talk about the form and the structure of the poem. Now, this bits that I'm just rushing through, you can find them in a link video, and you can also find the entirety of it as well as part of the course, where you can download the full essay. Now, this is how the poem appears in the anthology. It's a sonnet. Let me just say that in terms of the tone of the poem, or a summary of the poem is, in the poem, the speaker sort of laments the destructive actions, a summary of what man has done to nature, and how, at the end of it, everything has been appended. Society has been broken and destroyed, essentially. We see this tone of lament, even though it starts off by asking for Wordsworth. It changes later on and begins to list the various things, that destructive actions that man has taken. and the consequence on nature. Report to Wordsworth by Boey Cheng. You should be here. Nature has need of you. She has been laid waste, smothered by the smog. The flowers are mute, and the birds are few, and the sky slowing like a dying clock. All hopes of Proteus rising from the sea have sunk. He's entombed in the waste with dump. Triton's notes struggle to be free. His famous horns are choked and his eyes are dazed, and Neptune lies helpless as the beast whale, while insatiate man moves in for the kill. Poetry and piety have begun to fail, as nature's mighty heart is lying still. Oh, see the wound widening in the sky. God is laboring to utter his last cry. Now, the very first thing I want us to note is the title, Wordsworth, Report to Wordsworth. Now, Wordsworth was an English nature poet. He died in the 1850s. It means the speaker, or by extension, Cheng, never met him. So that's the key thing I just want you to note, that he lived between 1770 to 1850. Now, the first thing we look at in the poem is that the poem opens with the use of the second person point of view, which is seen in the word you, which tells that the speaker is speaking directly to the absent Wordsworth, what can be described in literature as an apostrophe, right? And he's wishing that he were present. You should be here. You should be present. Now, this is quite troubling, because if it's a dead man that has to change the situation, then it means all hope is lost. In the second part of the line, he says, nature has need of you. So observe that he again is speaking directly to Wordsworth. So he exposes the reason why Wordsworth is needed. Nature has need of you. And observe that the N in nature is capitalized. So that personifies nature and presents it as a proper noun. That's an identity or a person. Nature has need of you also suggests that Wordsworth is an absent savior that is badly needed, which is troubling, like I've said, because if it's only a dead man that can help the situation, then all hope is lost. Now, observe the repetition of the word you twice as the first word and then the last word of the first line. It emphasizes the speaker's desperation and need for Wordsworth's presence. Now, we also see the use of anthropomorphism. She has been laid waste. Now, this is useful because it humanizes the personified nature in line 1 and tells that it has been totally destroyed. This is something that has been laid waste. It has been totally destroyed, ruined, and devastated. Now, the picture I want you to have in your mind is this sort of an apocalyptic setting where there is smoke, destruction, and commotion, and whatnot. And nature is lying there. It has been laid waste. It's been devastated. It's been ruined beyond redemption. Now, the next thing the speaker again does is that he continues again with the anthropomorphism. Now, anthropomorphism is when you sort of humanize inanimate aspects of nature. I mean, it has like this touch of personification to it. Smothered by the smog suggests that the personified smog covered the noses of the personified flowers to cause them to suffocate. Smothered by the smog. So, smothered by the smog. So, it suffocates and strikingly suggests an especially intimately violent and slow process. So, the smog, which is a combination of smoke and, fog, is smothering flowers. It's causing them to be mute. Which is the next thing that we see. The flowers and mute provides vivid auditory imagery of the absolute silence that reigns in the setting, and the inability of the attacked and traumatized flowers to express themselves. They can't speak. They can no longer talk. Why? Because they are too shocked and breathless to speak. So observe that multiple aspects of nature has been personified. Nature as a whole, right? And then the smog. And now we see that the flower is also being personified. The smog essentially is like think of it like a malevolent or a wicked part of, creation that is destroying the flowers, possibly because maybe it's jealous. Now, as a consequence, we are told that, and the birds are few. So it reveals that only a handful of birds are seen flying around, presumably because of the extremely poor quality of air or air quality. In a sky, so now we see that there's a shift to the sky. In a sky broadens the focus of the narration above the reader's head to where an extremely sparse number of birds are flying. Now, the next thing we see is the use of simile. While in the sky, slowing like a dying clock provides vivid visual imagery that likens the sky to the hands of an increasingly weakened clock that is at death's door. It's dying. It's almost dead. It's very soon it will be dead. Observe again, like I said, multiple aspects of the narration is personified or likened to animate objects. Now, the first thing that the speaker does is that after giving us like a broader sense of the setting, is that it focuses now on in Greek mythology a shape-changing sea god, Proteus. It says all hopes of Proteus rising from the sea exposes that there's a strong desire from people, that is going to rise, is going to come out of the sea. It will materialize out of the sea. But look at what he does. He says, have sunk. So that carries a tone of defeat. There's this, sense that people are waiting with bated breath, expectation. Now it's sunk. So it carries a tone of defeat and resignation that metaphorically suggests that Proteus, the strong expectation of him appearing, has plummeted into the deep. So essentially, like a boat. Remember, Proteus is supposed to be the sea god. But man is so formidable in his destruction that he has caused Proteus to not be able to rise. He has sunk. Now, observe the description of Proteus' condition. We're told that he's entombed in the waste. Entombed starkly presents the state of Proteus and provides vivid visual imagery of him encased and buried alive in discarded garbage. So the garbage that we throw into the sea has become Proteus' sepulchre or grave, essentially. Now, observe that the speaker says we dump. This for me is one of like the key things that the speaker does that I find quite masterful. It entails that the whole of humanity, it's a third person pronoun that entails that the whole of humanity, the reader and the speaker included, and shows that the speaker knows that he bears some responsibility for Proteus' condition. So this is not like some self-righteous speaker that tries to create the impression that he's doing everything right and everybody else is just causing destruction. No, we dump. He's part of the problem. Dump powerfully communicates the recklessness and carelessness with which we throw the refuse away. So humanity is very reckless in their attitude of throwing away waste. And that is why Proteus is entombed in the waste. Now, in the next, the continuing line, we see another Greek mythological god that is mentioned, Triton. Triton's note, struggle to be free, personifies the song of Triton. So in effect, it shows that his songs are alive, they are powerful. But then it presents them as being fettered or tied. The notes are tied. The personified notes are tied. And how forcefully they are fighting. So they are struggling, to disentangle or free themselves. So in Greek mythology, Triton is the sea god that uses shells as wind instruments. So we've seen the second sea god, essentially Triton, but he too, he's fettered, he's tied. His famous songs are choked. Communicates that what he is well known for, which he blows like a trumpet to control the sea, is blocked. It is blocked, so he can no longer control it anymore. So is that why the reason for flooding? And then he continues and says that his eyes are dazed, shows that his ability to see has been affected. He can no longer see clearly. He is stumped. He's unable to think or react properly. So that is the second god, as it were. The man's actions are affected. The first is Proteus, the second is Triton. Then the third god is Neptune. And Neptune lies helplessly as a beached whale. So provides a vivid visual imagery of Neptune spread on the ground in the similitude of an extremely vulnerable whale that is unable to improve its situation. So he's lying on the ground. He's helpless. He can't help himself. And because he can't help himself, he will die. It's just a matter of time. Now, Neptune is the Roman god of the sea. So observe that all three gods are gods of the sea, and they are all dying in the sea because of the pollution, that the sea pollution that is being carried about by man. He continues and says that, humanity does something, and that's important because we see the description of humanity and their attitude to Neptune's condition. Right? He says, while insatiate man. So this is a striking description of humanity that implies that we can never be satisfied. We are extremely greedy. Humanity is extremely greedy. Even as Neptune lies helpless there, we are very, very greedy. We are never satisfied. What do? We move in for the kill. So it presents humanity as callous and atlas predators that are taking steps to murder the already weakened Neptune. So Neptune is weak and lying down, but then we are going in to kill it, possibly to divide it amongst ourselves, like a war, and then you have the spoils of war essentially. So we are not trying to help nature that we are destroying, or aspects of nature that are destroying. We are even destroying it even more because we are greedy. He continues in the 11th line. Poetry and piety have begun to fail. Now, poetry is an allusion to literature, education, art, knowledge, enlightenment. Piety is an allusion to religious and being God-fearing. So, education and the fear of God is beginning to fail. So, men no longer have a moral compass. They act the way they please. Have begun to fail suggests that both are not as effective as they used to be in controlling and keeping in check the baser, characteristics of humanity or human characteristics. It is not able to check it anymore. It's beginning to fail. As nature's mighty heart is lying still is a striking description for the extremely massive but no longer beating heart of nature. His lying still also provides vivid visual imagery of the inert, so it's no longer beaten, which signals that nature is dead. Remember, at the beginning, Cheng says nature has need of you. Now, nature is dead. Now, observe the use of exclamation. So the speaker uses exclamation and an imperative tone. Oh, see! So that's an exclamation and an imperative tone. Is calling the reader to observe. See! So the speaker's distress and shock at what is unfolding before commanding the reader to shift their focus to see or witness what is happening. See. And what does it point to us to see? The wound. So wound personifies the sky and shows that it is injured, while widening provides vivid visual imagery of the increasing width of its injury or gash. So essentially, we are destroying the nature to the extent where the sky or the elements that are supposed to protect us, possibly from ultraviolet rays, is widening. It's becoming worse and worse. So destruction is coming more and more close. The last line, or the 14th line, it says, God is laboring to utter his last cry. So this is a direct reference to the creator of the universe and reveals the speaker's religious nature. So the speaker is religious. And it's an allusion to the removal of religious beliefs. So the religious belief that has been removed has also removed all the constraints to human actions. Men are acting the way they wish. It also provides vivid visual and auditory imagery of the physical strain and the difficulty with which God lets out his final scream or cry as he experiences death throes before his death. So essentially, God is dying and he's laboring. He's with a lot of effort to utter his last cry. Now, in terms of the themes of the poem, we have nature as a key theme, but then destruction of nature and other elements, those are like the key themes, and then the apocalyptic results of man's actions. So man essentially is making creation an apocalyptic environment. Now, in terms of the tone, the poet is pleading. You see that in the first line when he says, you should be here, nature has need of you. Then there's also this tone of desperation. He's desperate, and then later on we see that the speaker is resigned, especially towards the end, as he speaks about the failure of poetry, piety, the widening of the sky, and then God's death. Now, in terms of the point of view of the poem, the poet blends the second person point of view, which gives the impression that she is speaking directly to an absent Wordsworth. You know, we see that in the first line. And then the third person point of view, as he narrates the actions of humanity and its effects. So the speaker, you know, is, for me, because Cheng is male, can be male, but some other person can also say that it's female, you know, depending on the sense. But we see here that the third person, he uses the third person as a list, you know, the effect, what is happening to nature, smog, the flowers, the birds, Proteus, Neptune, you know, God. That's where we see the use of that point of view. Now, in terms of the form and structure of the poem is a Shakespearean sonnet, right? It has 14 lines, and it has an A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F rhyme scheme. So the poem has 3 quatrains. Quatrains essentially are 4 lines. So if you observe, there's the first 4 lines, second 4 lines, and then the third 4 lines. So lines 1 to 4, 5 to 8, 9 to 12. Then we see a rhyming couplet, sky and cry. You know, I think the poet uses this the rhyme scheme there to present, give the poem musicality. It also shows that he's crying. Essentially, the poem is a short, sonnets essentially are short songs, but it's like a short song of lament for the destructive activities that are being carried out by man. So I think the rhyme scheme, carries out that impression. The poem is also an iambic pentameter. That means that each line has, 5 metric feet, an unstressed syllable followed by 1 long stressed syllable. You should be here. So you see, nature has need of you. So 1 unstressed syllable followed by 1 long stressed syllable. So that essentially is the form and structure of the poem. So here you have it. The poem also has the use of enjambment as well, and then caesura. Enjambment is seen in the flow of words from one line to the next. So if you observe the third line, it says, and the birds are few in the sky. So it flows from one line to the next. And then there are multiple lines where we see the use of caesura, where, there's a break or pauses in the middle of the line. So we see that in the first line, the second line, and the third line. So those are like the elements. If you're asked to write about the form and then the structure of the poem, that's what you write about. So you write about the use of the rhyme scheme, the iambic pentameter, then you talk about the use of enjambment, and then the caesura. The enjambment in line 5 into line 6 creates suspense. The enjambment in line 6 into line 7 creates suspense as well. The enjambment in line to be free again creates. So you see the use of enjambment multiple times by the speaker to create suspense. So here you have it. Boey Cheng's poem, Report to Wordsworth, has been analyzed. Now, like I said in the beginning of the lesson, this is part of a course that contains all the 15 poems properly analyzed. So you don't need to, jump from one side to the other to get access to it. And it's only for £5 a month for subscription, or you can buy the entirety of the course for £45 a year. Now, additionally, if you need help with tuition, again, we provide tuition services in the various components, different subjects in humanity, English language, history, geography, sociology, and the sciences as well. We have students and teachers that can help you. So you can just reach out to me, sign up or send me an email at mrq@mrquakersteaches.com or mrquakersteaches@gmail.com. On to the next lesson, which, you see contains how to write an essay. Goodbye from me. Bye-bye.